Hello everybody, and we are back in my test suit. It's been a little while, but we're going to do another tutorial. So as you will probably be able to tell by the thumbnail and the title of the video, we're going to have a look at how to do implied aviaries and that sort of thing. Fairly simple ones, not super complicated, but obviously some of the techniques that and the process that we'll do in the video will be applicable to slightly more complex builds and things like that, but this is a basic way to make a kind of random shaped aviary instead of a very strict sort of square, rectangle, one of those sorts of things. So yeah, we will go through in the different stages and get through it. I'll do some little time-lapse bits so you can see me do the whole thing, but I will go through each step as we go through. So the first step you want to do is figure out your outline. So you can go straight into putting posts in, or the most likely thing you're going to want to have for the sides of your aviaries is some sort of barrier. So that will most likely be chain link or the steel mesh potentially, maybe even the electric, but obviously that doesn't give quite as much of the kind of mesh vibes as the other two do. So if we go for chain link, so you'll want to do your outline. So we'll just do a very random outline here. We won't do it too big because it takes a bit longer the kind of bigger it is and the more complex it is, but we'll do a very random shape. Go for that. So that is stage one. You've got your outline, you've got your posts in the ground there. So the next thing you want to do is sort out your actual posts. So whether this is the height of the posts, whether it's replacing these for something slightly different. So you could maybe, if you wanted to, replace that for the logs. If you wanted logs as your frame, you could also use a beam, one of the square beams. These ones are quite good for your posts. So what we can do is put them in to kind of cover up the posts as best as we can. It may take a little bit longer to fine tune it, but in general just kind of roughly cover them. If you want to use slightly bigger ones that will work a little bit better, you can, or you can leave it as the actual posts that come with the barrier if you are happy with the look of that. So that's all of them. I think we will actually very quickly, I should have done this before, I should have gone for the 4 meter, but we'll double them up and we'll make it taller. So we double all these up, make them a bit taller. Obviously it depends how tall you want it. You can have different heights and things, different levels. You could have a lower part here, or a higher part over in a different location. As long as you've got these all sorted, you'll be good to go at whatever height you're at. And then we can just edit this so that it just sits below the top of the beam. So that's our posts. So that's step 2. So the next thing we want to do is look at where we want our central support. So the most likely thing, you're going to want 1 or 2 posts in here as a support. So for ease we'll do 1 and we'll make it very tall. So if we put that one around there, sort of central to all the different pieces you're going to want to connect it to. So all of these will go up to this post. If you wanted, you could have 1 there and 1 there, and then you would just need to decide which side or both you want your beams to connect to. So maybe these central ones will connect to both on either side there, but since we've just got 1, we'll go for that. So 1 central post. You might want something on the top. Sometimes I will use a little square, a little circle, even slightly bigger one, something like that, that you can connect just so that it kind of covers up and makes it a bit more tidier at the top there. So the next step, step 4, we want to make a long line of what we're actually going to use for the roof. So I favour more implied roofs than full-on netted roofs, because they can just get a bit too busy for my liking, but if you want to do that you can. It just takes a lot longer if you're doing it in this sort of style. So 2 pieces I find work well for this. The rope pieces, obviously the standard ones, you've got the 2 metre and the 4 metre, the straight ones, or you can use the Arctic lights, the straight ones, which are these ones, the 2 metre strip. These ones obviously kind of very thin, a bit more, they kind of look a little bit more like netting in a way, because they are so thin and they kind of disappear at certain angles, things like that. But if you want it to look a bit more obvious that you've got a roof on there constantly all the time, then your best bet's probably going to be the rope. This is relatively big. You can kind of test out the size that you're going to need. If it was really tiny, you could use the 2 metre, but because this is pretty big, will be good to use a 4 metre all the way around. So ultimately then what you want to do is make one really long line. So you can do this just copying and dragging it over multiple times, as much as you can, and you can kind of test it out. You want to make it into a group, and then you can kind of test out. So you're going to want basically this center point to reach everything all the way around. So you're probably going to want a couple more pieces on there, if it will let me go in. It doesn't matter how much excess you have, because we will be deleting that at the end, so it's more just for ease of actually doing it. That should be fine. So now we have got our single piece. So what we want to do is center this. Now step 5, we're going to center it to every post. So it depends if you want it sitting on the top or if you want it just below, so that you don't see the connection there, you want it on the inside. So make sure it's completely centered. Doesn't matter what direction it's facing yet, but as long as the little arrow there looks pretty much in the center, it doesn't have to be completely exact, but as long as it's roughly in the center of the post, then you should be good. Then we want to copy all of these over to every post. So I will do that, but I will do it time lapse because it takes a little while, but you've seen what I'm doing, just centering it by eye roughly to each of these posts all along the outline. So I'll do that now, and then we will come back into real time when I've finished. Okay, so that is all of these posts done. Now you can do it one at a time if you would rather, if you think it might get a bit too confusing. It depends how many posts you have really. If you have loads and loads, then sometimes it's better to do a stretch at a time, because it can get confusing because they overlap. But yeah, if there's not too many, then it's not too bad doing it all in one go. The other thing I would say when you're at this stage is just copy one over as a spare, just in case you decide you want to add more. You've got the right length and piece and height and everything as you will need it if you want to do more bits. So once you've got all of your posts with your rope bits centralized, then we need to rotate them all to the center post or posts. So if you had one there, you probably do that half to that one, and that one there, you probably do that half to that one, so you'd overlap these two to both. If you only have one, obviously all of them go to one, so just rotate the posts, so you've got your posts spinning on the axis now of your actual post here, so that's exactly what you want. You want that to be your central point that everything rotates around, because it will make life a lot easier. Now this is where it can get confusing when you have posts overlapping, ropes overlapping with other ropes. So just make sure you're going to the posts and rotating them in, rather than just seeing a random bit of rope and clicking it. So I will finish this again, speeding up. Okay, so all of our ropes are pointing into the centre. So the next thing we want to do, now this is two things in one. If you do one without doing the other, you'll realise it makes it a lot harder. So what you want to do here, again, we've got this central point of rotation now, so it's quite simple, but you just need to remember to do both things in one go. So make sure you haven't got angle snap on or anything, and then you want to rotate that up to wherever you want it to go. So if you want it to attach to that post, then you could do it onto there. If you wanted it underneath or in that little crease, if you didn't have that central bit on top, you might just want it going to the post itself, which is fine as well. So if we do it to that sort of point, you just want to try and keep your points roughly level so it looks a bit neater. And I've just done what I said I shouldn't do. It's quite easy to forget, but so you want to rotate, get to the level you want it, and then X again, and then you want to move this. So you can move it up or down, whichever is easiest, but you want to move it so that that is just onto the post and not sticking out the back. You can always tidy it up later, but that is roughly the look we want to go for. So turn it, and we will drag it, as I said, so it's just into the post but not sticking out the back, and then you can let go. Then we will repeat that under there, so it's just under it, drag that up so it's not sticking out like so. We will sort all that stuff out after, so if you go around and do that with every post, make sure they all angle up to that point, then we will move on to the next step. So I will do all that now, and we'll go back again in real time when I finish that. Okay, so we're on the last one. I thought I would just show you very quickly what will happen if you don't do these two in one go. So if you angle it and then come off it, when you then want to push it all up or down, you don't get the option. You can only move it along the standard axes, you can't move it all in one go. So that is why you have to do the rotating motion upwards first, and then in the same movement you can push the whole thing up, so that you are not left with lots of excess. So that is all our posts, all our ropes, sorry, pointing to the centre. So the next thing we want to do is sort this mess out up the top. So basically you want to just click on the bottom one, whichever one is lowest down, select the rest, delete, and then we'll do that the same for all of these. Some, depending on the layouts and how close certain ones are, they might not all be the same amount that you need to delete. So if you just click on the lowest one down, keep that one, and then highlight the rest. So that one's got a lot more because it's closer to the post, the central post. That one's good because that one can all be deleted a lot. And likewise with that one. As I said, you can do all of these things. You can do every step for each individual rope and post if you would like. I find it easier to just do it all in one go. And then once you've done that, you just need to select all these, pull them down so that they're not sticking out, of your top piece. Shouldn't matter what order you do it in, unless there are some that you can't see properly because they're hidden by others. Drag that one. Get in there, we're getting there. Doesn't feel like enough to time lapse it, but it still takes a little bit of time. Drag that one down, and then drag that one. And there you have it. That is how you make your posts and your fake netting. So, as I said, there's the next step would be finishing touches, any fine tuning, anything like that. So there you might end up like this. You might have some posts that need adjusting. You might want to change it for different posts, things like that. You might want to raise it up ever so slightly, like here where it's going into the top. If I only wanted it in the side, I could just raise them up a little bit to make it a little bit neater. But that is the basic thing for a netted roof. It depends, as I said, how much detail you want to go into, really. What kind of aesthetic you want, how you want it to look. This might be fine for you. You may then decide, actually these gaps are a bit big, I'd rather have another one in the middle here, another post, or just a rope itself. You might want to do that all the way around. You might think, actually these gaps are all a bit too big, I don't really want it like that. So that's something you can obviously incorporate that into the initial stage, the first stage of your outline. You could use, say, 3 meter barrier pieces all the way around for your outline. You could have done that all in 3 meter pieces if you were happy with that kind of width for your netting, and then we could have done that for all those posts, but we've done a very simple one just for ease and for time saving. But the same method, as I said, applies to every single one. If you had 100 posts, if you only had 3 posts, it would the same technique you can use for everything, which is why it's quite a good technique, I find. As I said, different levels as well. If these two were higher, all you'd have to do is make sure that you, in the stage, what stage was it? Stage 5, where you centralised your rope pieces to each post. You just have to make sure that these ones were at the higher level of your post, and then the same method would always apply. The angle would obviously just be not as steep. So finishing touches, things like that, there's a few different things you could have done there. You can add more stuff, so we'll just come over here and have a look at some of these things that I've done to this aviary. Obviously it doesn't have to be an aviary, it could just be a netted enclosure for something. A lot of animals will have netted enclosures, some of the cats will, primate species, obviously the birds may have it as well, so you might not just be using these as aviaries, they might just be netted enclosures in general, but as I said, same method applies to everything. So we'll have a look. So what have we got here? I've got a list of all the things I've done. So airlocks, this is a good one for an aviary. Obviously it's a secondary and a little airlock just to stop any birds that get past that first door getting out of the second door. You just make sure that keeper goes in, shuts this door, opens the next one. That's quite a common one for aviaries, and any enclosure where you'll go in with an animal in there and it could get past you. We have different styles, so we've obviously got the chain link there, but here we've just used the electric. It does look quite nice, but as I said, it depends on the species. If you had an aviary with little birds in, that was kind of what you were going for, then this probably wouldn't be ideal, but it does have a bit better visibility, so for certain things you might get away with using that. But in general the mesh and the chain link work better, I feel. We have added extra posts, so you can add extra posts without extra ropes if you wish. That is acceptable, I would think. We've got some rock work, so you can hide some of this stuff if you wish. So just put a rockwork corner there. You can have the netting attached to rockwork and things like that. Around this side we've covered some of it up with some plantings. Obviously that's just theming and planting and merging everything together. Obviously you would actually do the inside of the aviary, but I haven't done that because that would take too long for this. On this side we've dragged the fence down so you can't see the bar at the bottom. That's quite a good one, I find, because a lot of them won't necessarily have a bar like that along the bottom. So if you just drag the fence post down, if you click flat top editable bottom, you can then click on a post and drag it down into the ground. So that's a good one to do. And then you can always add extra. You can add a wood panel at the bottom. You can add other like bits of wood and stuff around if you wish. You can get rid of one of these mesh pieces and attach it to a house. That's obviously a good one because you'll probably want some sort of building or shed or something for the animals to go into, so you can remove that. You can also attach rope to these bits, just same principle applies. Make sure your centered point for your rope strand is on the building at the right height that you want, and then just do the same thing. Angle it towards the center, angle it up, push it up, all that sort of thing. And then I think the last one, from what I can see, obviously is this one. So this is a much denser netting, so we've obviously got many times the amount. We've gone all the way along one face of the aviary itself instead of just corners. So it just depends how much work you want to do. Obviously this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This was 12, although I already had them, so that was an extra 10 times that I had to do this for one very small panel. So doing this one will probably take another twice as much as that, well, 3 times probably as much as that. Same again there and there. So yeah, it's all depends on how much time you want to spend, but same principle. As I said, have all your rope things. It's better here if you make sure they're all straight, if they're all sort of 90 degrees along your horizontal part here, because then you can space them out evenly. Then you can angle them all towards the inside and then do your turning up and your shifting and that sort of thing there. So yeah, you could go halfway. You could just have one on there and one on there, so that you have slightly denser. You could say every half bit. It just depends how much work you want to do, what look you want to go for. Obviously if you were looking down on the aviary, these are 2 different views you're going to get if you're a visitor. If you want it to all be very dense, very covered, you can use multiple rope like that. If you are happy for it just to be implied, as long as you've got these main strands, then that's also good. So I think that is everything. So those are pretty much 8 steps, I think that is. No, 9 steps. I changed my steps. So 9 steps to getting an aviary, or an implied aviary, implied netted enclosure of any shape or size, without very square shapes and repetition and things. This is all completely custom, no copying and pasting except for your rope strands and things. So hopefully you enjoyed, hopefully that's useful, and in my opinion it's something that adds a real nice element to the zoos, makes some nice realism and stuff. So hopefully that helps if any of you are looking to do your own version of this yourself. So if you like the video, please leave a like. You leave a comment if there's anything else you would like to see, if you have any other questions about this techniques, if I've missed anything out. Hopefully I haven't. And you can subscribe to the channel if you would like to see more videos. I've got a few different series and various different videos now on here. You can also join the Discord if you have any questions as well. That's a good place, as well as the comment section, so you can join my Discord, Talk Planet Zoo, ask questions, share pictures, all sorts of stuff. And you can also follow me on Twitter as well, so all the links for all those things will be in the description below. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully I will see you in the next one.